What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Bryan Clayton, here back at you with another mentor session. Let me make sure that I'm using the right microphone here. Everything looks good. Okay, let's get into it. First question. This is from Quade Sturdy. How soon is too soon in regards to scaling? Background. I am an owner operator of a construction company, so there is a lack of credibility that follows. I would love to get my vision crystallized and put into motion. However, I feel I will face people that may not want to work with a 23-year-old. It's a great question. My background is I had a landscaping company for 15 years that I built from just me and a push mower to me and 150 people, ultimately getting it to over $10 million a year in revenue. And I built that business from the age of 18 to 33. And then when I turned 33, I was able to sell the company. And so I understand what you're saying, that you're young. How do you scale when you're only a 23-year-old? Are people going to want to do big contracts? And so that's a concern. I don't. So the way I would answer it is this: on the one hand, nothing kills a good business quicker than scaling too quickly. So you want to make sure that you're in control of all of the fundamentals of your business, from the bookkeeping, the accounting, the economics. You understand how to quote work and how to make profit on every job. You have those kind of fundamentals in place, and you want to make sure you have those in place before you try to scale. Because if you scale too quickly, you'll kill the business, and even worse, you end up with a ton of personal debt when the thing implodes. The other thing is right now we're going through a really, really, really good time, and the good times don't always roll. You have to be prepared for a cutback in business, because it's going to come. It may not be next year, it may not be the year thereafter, but it's going to happen. So you don't want to get too far ahead of your skis. So on the one hand, yes, you want to build a big business. Yes, you want to scale, but you don't want to scale too soon. I wouldn't let the age thing be the limiting factor at all. When I was 23, I had something like 30 employees, and I was doing six-figure contracts all day long. So 23 is not a big deal. Something that I used to do is I grew a beard. It made me look older. I would look for ways to make yourself look older than you do. And if that's a concern of yours, the other thing too is I would try to speak deeper on the phone. It sounds funny, but I would practice that literally. So a lot of times people don't care how old you are, so long as you can just deliver and execute and get the job done. So I would not worry about that at all. The other thing I would leave you with is that every business has kind of three phases: the startup, the grow up, and the scale up. And so when you're first starting a business, it's just you're doing all the work, you're trying to figure it out. And that startup phase might metaphorically be like you to $500,000 a year in revenue, or you to 750K a year in revenue. And so just get through that startup phase, figure out what your little processes are, what your routines are, how you quote work, how you do work better than your competition, how you keep customers happy. And then there's the startup, there's the grow up, and then there's the scale up. And so when you use the word scale, that's really more or less like 50, 100 employees, 150 employees, multi-million dollars in revenue. What you probably mean is the grow up, which is how do I get from 500K in revenue to a million, or a million to 2 million? And so just treat it as three kind of phases, three levels almost. Get through the startup, get through your first 750K, figure out what got you there, what's working, and then start to work on the systems to get you through the grow up phase, which is a million, 2 million, get to 3 million, and then worry about scale after that. You can't worry about all of these things at the same time. Another dead horse I'll beat is the book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. You need to read that book if you haven't already. That's a great book that talks about the difference between working in your business and working on your business. Hope that helps. Next question is Gabriel Suarez. Hope I pronounced your name right. I'm looking for suggestions or ideas for incentivizing team members for raising their total sales during shifts. Ideally, suggestions that have been tried before with positive outcomes. I have a chain of retail stores specializing in natural and holistic wellness. This objective of raising sales can be done a few ways, like getting more customers, having them come back more often, and in my opinion, the easiest would be to improve upselling existing customers. My existing challenge is finding an incentive program that encourages more sales without creating tension between team members or have them in any way feel the reward system is unfair or favorable to some others. We have some employees that work a lot more hours than others. Some work on busier days than others. One thing I would consider to be good is reward based on each employee's average sales value instead of total sales or some other metric. We have some stores doing a lot better than others, and I feel like the more the staff's working in some shops over its location and demographics. Okay, so I'm the founder of Natural Life Stores franchising company offering brick and mortar franchise opportunities. Natural Life is a chain of retail, wellness, and health stores specializing in all natural products. So I think you're thinking along the right terms. If you just pay people a flat hourly wage and they, just come in, punch a clock and leave, and they have no incentive to really kind of care about the customer. The customer walks in and they really have empathy for the customer. They care about matching the customer with the right products. They care about suggesting other products that might actually help the customer. And they really care about the customer success. You're not going to get that just by paying them a flat hourly wage. Like it's just not going to happen. So you have to have some kind of incentive structure, but it's hard. There's a lot of moving pieces, different hours, busier days, and so on. And so also you don't want to create like a competitive frame within the business, like people competing against one another, because that's not good. You want a collaborative environment. So how do you get an incentive system that works for everybody and everybody's on the same team? There's no silver bullet here. What I would do is experiment. I would literally spend less time worrying about this and less time planning this and less time asking questions about it, and I'll spend more time doing. I would next week try some sort of experiment in some sort of way with maybe your top 3 earners, your top 3 employees. And I would incent them in some way and say, listen, during your shift, I'm going to pay you a certain percent of sales and just see what happens. I'm going to pay you your base rate, and then I'm going to pay you a certain percent of sales, and then measure. So do that for a month. Take your top 3 people and say, I'm going to pay you an X percent bonus of sales for the days you work. Now, this is going to take some bean counting, and it's going to take some spreadsheet calculating, and it's going to take a lot of manual hand cranking. But the point is, there is no silver bullet incentive program that you can just bolt onto your business. You're going to have to kind of iterate your way through this and figure it out as you go. So there's a saying that I like: fire bullets, then cannonballs. Try to figure out what the smallest experiment you can do and learn from, and then iterate as you go, because then you'll figure out the incentive program that works for you. The other thing is, I would try to figure out what the big boys have done. What does Victoria's Secret do? What does GNC do? What does Zara do? I know all those places, all those retail places have to have some kind of incentive structure for their people, because they're always hitting you up to buy more stuff when you go in. What does Burberry do? Go all the way high. Figure out what the highest end of the high end people do. I mean, this stuff's online. You can figure it out and learn from them too. But don't just copy their program, because it's not going to work for you. You have to learn from maybe a dozen other big name retailers and research this stuff. I'm sure somebody on YouTube's talking about this, and try to distill it into little things that you can put into your business that you can experiment around. And set a goal for this time next year. I want to have an incentive program that's working for my customers, because we don't want to just annoy our customers and sell them more crap. We want to sell them stuff that they need, that's working for my people and it's working for the business. It's a win-win-win for everybody. And set a goal for a year to get there, but experiment your way to it. Next question is from Oscar Rodriguez. Hi, Shawn. I am getting my business going. How do you recommend for me to pay myself? I'm in the car business. Should I pay myself from each sale I do? Is there a formula percentage? Should I put aside each sale for overhead and pay myself? Thank you. It's a tough question. It's one that I've dealt with from time to time. Do you pay yourself like a salary? Do you pay yourself a percent of sales? Do you pay yourself a 1099? From a tax standpoint, I'm no tax advisor. What I have found is like it almost doesn't matter in the early days. Like you pay yourself a 1099 or W-2 or on an owner's draw or something like that, because the taxes are going to get paid somewhere. The company's going to pay taxes. You're going to pay them personally. You're going to pay you're going to pay the payroll taxes and Social Security withholding on the company side or on the personal side. So it almost doesn't matter from a tax standpoint. There's really no way to circumvent taxes. What I would do is I would try to live on, like, I would try to pay myself the least amount possible. Mark Cuban has a quote, says, the less you can live on, the greater your options. And so I think like that's table stakes. Let's figure out how we can live on 3 or 4 or 5K. Let's get all of our personal expenses down and let's pay ourselves that. And then here's the kicker. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Every month, whether it's 2K, 3K, 4K, whatever the least amount that you can live on, pay yourself first. And that will kind of be like a forcing function for the rest of the business to actually have a business. Because here's what happens. A lot of people pay themselves last, and then they run their business sloppy. And then they take on marketing expenses that aren't working, or they take on an employee that isn't really pulling their weight, or they buy a bigger office than they should, or they buy, they buy stupid stuff like Yellow Page advertising or something that doesn't work. And so if you pay yourself first, like a bill that just hits at the first of every month, it kind of forces everything else in the business to kind of be more efficient. And that's how I would look at it. I would pay myself first, but I would also pay myself the least amount that I can live on for the first year or 2 or 3. And then everything else after that, I would reinvest back into the business. I would reinvest in coaching, consultants, better marketing, courses, conferences. How do I learn? How do I figure out where to put this money to work? Because a lot of times as a founder, as a company owner, your job is capital allocator. You have money coming in. It may only be like 10 grand a month or 5 grand a month, but you have money coming in, and you have to figure out like where you're going to allocate that capital back into the business to get ROI, to get return. And so if you pay yourself first, it makes sure that you have an actual business. Because a lot of times people don't, and then they can't pay themselves, and they're broke, and even worse, they're in a bunch of credit card debt. So start it off the right way. All righty. Let's see here. Next question. Next question is from Bushan Kalvani. How do I make a buyer persona for my mobile app development business? How do I know I've created the right ones? How do locations affect personas? Like, do I need to create different persona based on each region I am trying to target? I have been going through the materials in AO Portal and have basic persona fields, but still confused about how to make them coincide with my business. A little background, I have a new mobile app development business in 2020 in India. I work with 2 clients. Clients come through referrals. I want to have steady flow of projects and inquiries. I would like to target specifically, not at random. This is my first question, but the materials in our portal, I would learn to better target specifically than to target any and all. Okay. I know this might be a broad question, but any and all feedback would help. As for clients, I have had internal customers from UK and US, but they were both startups. After a while, they asked for so many features and changes what they didn't have budget for. I lost the client and money. So I don't want to create a app for our community. Is a third project, and I would like to take on clients from around the globe. Would love feedback on how I should go about locations and the personas and how do they affect them. Great question. So you're in a tough business. All business is tough, but your business is particularly tough because I've experienced it. I'm CEO and co-founder of a company called GreenPal. GreenPal is a mobile app that connects homeowners and lawn care services like Uber, like an Uber for lawn mowing. And we've been at it 8 years. We have like 300,000 customers doing multi 10 figures a year in revenue. But we started off very, very, very small. And the first thing we did is we hired a development shop to build the first version of GreenPal, and it was a total failure, total flop, total disaster. I think we spent $150,000 with them. They lost money. We didn't get the project we needed. It was a total waste of everybody's time. So I can empathize with what you're talking about, and also the first two projects that you've done. The answer to your question is like, how do I create a persona? You don't really know right now because you haven't done enough liquidity through your business. You kind of need to experiment around just a little bit for a little longer. Like, let's do a dozen jobs. Let's figure out of those dozen which worked and which didn't, which went well and which didn't. It's okay your first two jobs didn't go very well. You're learning. And let's double down on the stuff that is working. So you might do a dozen mobile apps or a dozen websites, and one might be for a healthcare company, two might be for startups, one might be for like a musical group, another one might be for a construction company, and so on. The thing is, it's like every one of these buyer personas are a little different, and so it's really going to be almost impossible to be good at all of them. But you need to get more experiential wisdom. And that's a fancy way of saying you just need to do more work for different people to figure out what is the niche you want to go all the way in on. And so I wouldn't worry too much about a buyer persona just yet until you sell some more jobs and learn and kind of understand that the first 10 projects are going to be break even or make a little bit of money. And then you're going to learn. You're going to learn a couple things. You're going to learn how to qualify better. How do I qualify the client and understand that they're a good fit for my business or not? You may learn that startups are a complete waste of time because they don't know what they want. They don't have the budget. They have big dreams. They have no context to understand how difficult this stuff is to execute. Or it could be the opposite. It could be like, hey, I have developed this step-by-step process that takes somebody from an idea and $20,000 to an actual mobile app, and then sets them up for success, and also a long-term relationship where I get more and more work out of them for the long haul. My point is that you need to get in the trenches and learn more by interacting with people in different use cases to really understand what your buyer persona is. If you try to set it now, it's going to be set on assumptions and guesses and kind of wet finger in the air, and you don't really know. You don't really know that the startups might be your best fit for your business, or existing small businesses that are doing $1 million a year in revenue and have no online presence, or it could be companies that have 50 employees and doing 10 million a year. You don't really know. You don't know who you want to go after because you don't have that experiential wisdom. So my advice, if I woke up in your shoes tomorrow, would be take damn near all the work I could for the next year and just try to pay my bills and try to learn as much as I could over the next year. And then take notes and really try to understand this project went well, this one didn't, and this is why this didn't go well. And really be, let me say this, everything is your fault. If those two jobs, they didn't go well, guess whose fault that is? Your fault as the owner. It's your fault because you didn't have the process in place. You didn't have the systems in place. You didn't manage customer expectations. You didn't set the budget right. You didn't set the expectations right. It's your fault those two projects didn't go well. Everything is your fault as the owner. Everything is your fault as the founder. So if you can understand that and then really learn from every project you do over the next year, then you can develop the systems and processes and understand what the buyer persona is and needs to be. If you had come to me and said, "Hey, I've been in the digital development space for 3 years. We're doing $250K a year in revenue or $1 million a year in revenue. How do I set my buyer persona?" That would be a different answer to your question. But your question is, I'm just getting started. How do I set my buyer persona? Anything you do right now will just be based on guesses and assumptions for your type of business. All righty. Next question is from Martina Zervinska. What sort of strategy do I have to achieve my target for this month to reach 2,500 points? Last minute goal. I am in Herbalife marketing and personal training industry online. My goal is to have even better over 2,500 points, like a mission at the moment. But messaging people, adding people on social media, Facebook and IG, not having much luck. I am determining how to attract and sell my nutrition programs. My apologies. I don't really know anything about Herbalife, and I don't really know anything about the point system you're talking about. So I really can't help you on this question. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna have to punt on this one. From what I understand, Herbalife is a multi-level marketing thing. I don't have any knowledge on those, nor do I really like them personally, and I don't really have any kind of experience in what you're asking. So I'm gonna have to punt. Next question is Corey Stevens. When do you know if it's the right time to approach your prospect with your product or opportunity? I am an independent distributor for a global health and wellness company. Network marketing. After establishing a relationship with the prospect and building rapport with them, how do you know when it's the right time to approach them with your opportunity or product? How will you go about approaching them with what you have to offer? I'm trying to understand your question. So I'm guessing you're in a situation where you're in a direct sales role. You have a global health and wellness company, network marketing. It'd be helpful to know what you're selling. That's too broad. I don't really know. You've established a relationship with a prospect and building rapport with them. How do you know when it's the right time to approach them with the opportunity or product? It's a broad question. What I would tell you is I would put myself in their shoes and approach it like almost like everything in life. How do I add value? How do you add value before asking anything? And when, like, whatever the heck it is you're selling and whoever your customer is like, when could you really help them? When, like, genuinely, put yourself in their shoes. When would be a good time for them to buy from you? That one might be. So if it's like a contract, when does the contract come up? Find that out. If it's like, when is the time right? Usually when contracts renew, or if they have a need for whatever it is you're selling. So I would zoom out, put yourself in their shoes. When would they want to buy your product? And then that's when the time is right. Sorry, my answer kind of is not too helpful because I don't really have a whole lot of information to go on here. What are proven and recommended ways to launch an online service and obtain online subscribers? This is a resend from Ask a Millionaire. I've developed an online service called Master Estimate based on a tool I've created for managing the budget on my real estate projects. I held a beta testing period, and now I'm ready to announce the official launch of the service. Master Estimate provides a framework for estimates to combine the scope of work deliverables, draw schedule, progress payments, and completion points. This enables real estate investors, lenders, contractors, and landscapers to know the numbers at project start, monitor the numbers at project. I plan to target real estate investors. As I get subscribers, I'll enhance the service and target other user groups. Great question. Okay, so you got an online service. You want to get subscribers. Start small and learn. I'm assuming there are 0 subscribers for this service. So everything in your head right now is an assumption. It's a guess. Nothing is real. Nothing is true until you get 10, 20, or 100 people paying for this thing. And so the question, or maybe even just using it. Like, let's set some very small, actionable, and attainable goals. Let's get 10 people using it for free. And let's do that for 2 or 3 months. And let's learn from them. Let's give them your cell number, give them your email address, let them talk to you, because only then do you know what's working, what's not working, what features they want, what features they don't want. That's the only way to figure out what is going to work when building an online tool like this that people will pay for. So step 1, get 10 people using it for free. Then step 2 might be, let's get 5 people paying for it. Then step 3 might be, let's get 20 people paying for it, and then let's get 100 people paying for it, and then 1,000. and let's try to do that over the next 2 years. But let's work it through like levels, almost like a video game. And let's just get through level 1. Okay, so how do I get these people? Well, where are they hanging out? I tell you where. I do a lot of real estate investing, and I tell you where these people hang out. There are dozens of Facebook groups online or on Facebook where people are doing BRRR stuff, people are doing flips, people are doing long-term holds, people are doing short-term. I mean, dude, like there are no less than 20 Facebook groups with thousands of members. I would tomorrow or today join every one of these groups and start interacting with them. I would spend 2 or 3 hours a day interacting with them. And slowly, as people are asking for questions around, hey, I need an online tool to help manage my budget on this flip that I'm doing. And I've tried this, because I guarantee you there are tools out there that are probably pretty good that you'll be competing against, that you'll have to figure out how you're going to compete against them. And they might say, well, I tried this, I didn't like it, I didn't like that. And so does anybody have any recommendations? And you can say, hey, yeah, Shawn Drumgo here. I've got this tool called Master Estimate. You should check it out. And follow up with them. Get them to use it. Talk to them. What did they like? What didn't? Do that until you get 10 people using it. Then let's get like 20 people using it. Then let's get 5 people paying for it. And it's not worry about anything until we get to that point. That might be level 1. And then you'll know more about how to go from there. Because everything that you've done up until this point is all based on assumptions and guesses. And that's how I would approach it. I would also read a few books. I would read the book called The Startup Owner's Manual by Steve Blank. I would read The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. These are 2 really good books that talk about product development and customer development, which is the stage of the game that you're in. All right, last question from Martina Zervinska. Where do I look for new clients other than Facebook and IG, and how do I maintain a flow of new clients every month? Background: personal trainer online. My clients come and go. I need to make sure that I have consistency in my work, cash flow, as my clients often go on holidays or personal reasons. Where and how do I get new clients, and how do I mainly maintain them, since I only charge my clients to pay as they go? Well, the first thing I would do is I would try to figure out why these people aren't staying. I would really try to diagnose that. Retention is the new acquisition. Retention trumps acquisition. If you don't have the retention solid, then it doesn't matter how good you are at demand creation, because it's just a leaky bucket. And so I would really try to figure out what's a good benchmark for, if I get a client, how long should they stick with me? I mean, I got to think, if I'm going to go to the trouble of hiring a personal trainer, I should stick with them for at least 6 months, maybe 12. And if you're noticing these people are coming and going in 3 weeks, that might be an indication that there's certain things you need to work on with your approach, your style, your system, your personality. And I would really try to get to the root cause of that. And it's going to be hard to figure out, because it's hard to get this kind of feedback. But I would ask them, okay, hey, yeah, no, I understand you need to cancel. Would you mind telling me? And trust me, you will not hurt my feelings. Why do you need to cancel? Well, I didn't really like the way you did this. Oh, okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a session for free if you like, just to help you out. I mean, really get to the bottom of that first. Because to be honest, it shouldn't be that hard. You should have more customers, more clients than you know what to do with, just on IG and Facebook. And I know you said other than IG and Facebook, but you should really be able to just blow your stuff up just through those 2 channels. Even just IG, you should be able to stay more than full off of IG and word of mouth, if you're doing a good job. And please don't misinterpret this as I'm saying you're not. I'm just trying to diagnose the root cause of the question, because every personal trainer I know is full. In fact, I just tried to hire somebody to do some coaching for me, and they're full. Every good one is full. And so I would do 2 things. I would try to figure out the retention piece, and I wouldn't even worry about Facebook. I would just go all in on IG and maybe TikTok, and I would create really good content. Of course, you know that. I would be posting 4 or 5 times a week, at least on the timeline. I would have stories rolling every day. I would hire somebody off of Fiverr to help me with growing the audience. Like there's people you can hire on Fiverr that can do follow unfollow stuff for you and help you grow at a local level. That might help a little bit. And then I would ask all of my clients for referrals. Of course, this is no brainer stuff. I say, hey, I'll give you a free session, or I'll give you a couple free sessions if you can hook me up with somebody that needs services. And then I would maybe, you say it's like it's kind of ad hoc, if I'm understanding this correctly, like that they're just paying you as they go. Maybe try to do a monthly thing. Give them a little bit of a break. If the session's $75, say, if you sign up for 4 sessions a week over a month, I'll do that for $600. Make it a no-brainer for them. And the other thing is, I'll leave you with a quote, Steve Martin quote, is be so good they can't say no. Like, be such a good trainer, really, like, and I'm not saying you're not, but I'm just saying, like, however good you think that is, take it up a notch. Like, be so good they can't say no. Be so good they can't cancel you. Be so good they don't refer you, that they do refer you. Because to be honest, like, if you're good and you're doing a good job for your customers, you should have so many referrals coming in that it just kind of takes care of yourself in this kind of business. Now, if you had, if you were scaled out and you had 10 trainers under you and you have to figure out how to get like a fire hose of inbound, completely different story. But if it's just you and you've been at this for longer than a year, which maybe you haven't, and maybe you're just getting started and that might be the problem. If you've been at it longer than a year, and you're just trying to fill your own personal schedule, you should be able to do that off of word of mouth and IG if you're doing it right. So my answer to your question is, let's look at the root cause. Why are these people not sticking with you for longer than 6 months? And I would fix that. Alrighty, this concludes the session. Everybody keep grinding it out. Everybody keep working as hard as you can. I'll see y'all next month, and everybody be good.